This podcast is brought to you by Ideate and Execute. Do you want to drive innovation in your organization, futurize your enterprise, ideate massively valuable new products, or execute them to market? Then contact us today at ideateandexecute.com and get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Think Future podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kalaboukis. And once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California, the innovation capital of the world. We're talking innovation, startups, the future. Not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. Show number 82. And I realized just the other day that I'm talking a lot about innovation. I'm talking a lot about startups because they're cool. But I haven't talked a lot about the future. And this week, I attended a fantastic event at the Institute for the Future. Arguably one of the coolest places in the world, because basically all they do is think about the future. Man, does that speak to me or what, right? And I attended an event on body area networks and basically how we're going to augment ourselves in all these different ways with technology to make our lives better and the world better. Because not only is this data that's going to be collected off of us going to improve our own lives, we can also use it ways like to improve everyone's lives. The world, food, architecture, everything. There's so much we could do with this data. It's amazing. It's amazing. And over the next number of shows, some of this stuff is going to pop up in my discussions with you guys, so I'm not going to dedicate a specific show to it. But today, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I found very interesting, because a lot of the stuff that was discussed, or a number of things that were discussed in this event, talked about the seamless world that I've been talking about. Sort of like the seamless world where things just happen. Big data, Internet of Things, predictive analytics, automation. All these things just come together to make things happen. The whole thing about, well, if your computer knows when you need to leave for that appointment, why isn't the Uber already waiting for you at the door when you leave? Or if you have something in your calendar that you have to go to Vegas for a meeting on a particular date, why isn't your mailbox suddenly full of options that your intelligent agent has given you of where to go and where to stay, what flight to take? A complete option bundled up for you. All you have to do is press go buy. And of course, a seamless world, it would automatically buy the tickets for you. It wouldn't even ask you. It would just buy the tickets. So one of the things that was, one of the speakers there was a gentleman by the name of Golden Krishna. He wrote a book called The Best Interface is No Interface. And some of the things that he was describing, I fully believe in. I think we're in love with building applications or creating software or hardware or trying to solve problems by throwing stuff up in front of people's faces and giving them choices, instead of looking at the root of what you're trying to do and developing the technology to do it. He gave this great example of a company called Lockitron. And Lockitron makes an Internet of Things device that sits on the back of your deadbolt and basically unlocks the deadbolt for you using your smartphone. So the way it works is that you walk up to your house and you don't have your key on you. So you pull out your phone, you call up the Lockitron app, you press the unlock button, and it unlocks your deadbolt. And he was talking about the original incarnation of this is you walk up to your house, you pull out your phone. So what do you have to do to get to the Lockitron app? Well, first of all, you have to unlock your phone, so you tap in your key code or you do your swiping if you have an Android phone. And then you have to scroll through the multitude of applications to determine which one is yours as you're standing there. And you go, oh, there it is. Tap it. Eventually it opens. And then there's a very simple interface, lock, unlock. Okay, I guess I'm unlocking it. Tap the unlock key, door opens. But you have to go through all these permutations. I mean, right now, what do? You reach into your pocket, you pull out your key, you stick it in, turn it, go. You're in. Because of the problem is not being solved by the interface. You have to try and figure out how to solve this problem. Forget the interface. Why do we need to have an interface at all? It should be interface-less, something like this. And they did a new version of it where you basically walk up to the door, and as you walk up to the door, it senses the proximity of you in your smartphone to the lock, and it goes, "Hey, Chris is home." Zzz. It opens. Now, some people might say, well, that's not very secure. What if somebody stole my phone? Okay, you can have some optional security elements onto it. Maybe you need to stick your hand in your pocket and put your finger on the Touch ID pad. And when you put your finger on the Touch ID pad, it determines it's you. Then it unlocks the door. But you don't need to pull the phone out. You don't need to look at it. You don't need to go through pages and pages of interface. And I think you made a great point, is that I think that that's part of the seamless world. We're going to start seeing these apps that have no interface. And the people who are developing them understand that what they're trying to do is not just develop another app to complete a process that their customers want completed. They're just helping them to complete the process. That's the beauty of things like Magic and Instacart and stuff like that, where you're making people's lives easier, but you also have to try and make the interface of these people's lives easier. Example. TaskRabbit, right? Let's say I want to buy flowers for my wife, or I want to remind myself to buy flowers. So I want flowers to be delivered to my wife every anniversary, right? Every time there's an anniversary, I want some beautiful flowers to be delivered to my wife. Let's say I want to do that. So I could go in there and pick them out every time, but then I have to go in there to remember to pick them out every time. So I could set up a task through TaskRabbit to go in and say, hey, somebody go and pick up some flowers for my wife and have them make sure that they get delivered. But then I have to remember to go in and put that task in. So why not set it up in such a way so that every time I perform a task, I give it some criteria. I say, if it's this date, every year, I want you to go out and I want you to pick a certain amount of really nice bouquet for this general cost and deliver it to my wife with a really nice message. And if you think about it, the task that I'm giving is not a human task only, and it's not an automated task only. It's a combination. It's a blend of human and automation. And that's what all tasks, as far as I'm concerned, most tasks that people need to complete is a blend of human and automation. And then when this happens, the system should say to me, hey, Chris, I see you're asking for flowers to be delivered to your wife on this date. Do you want to do that again next year? And I'll say, sure. What happens? A rule gets built into the seamless world, and then next year I don't even have to think about it. It just happens. And this is what's going to happen to everything. I think we're going to see a renaissance of no interface. I think UI designers are going to be out of work. You guys better start learning how to do UX only, because we need to focus on what is the user trying to accomplish. I still didn't even like using that word. I think somebody joked once that only in the computer field and in drug dealing are your customers called users. But it was a great talk. He has a great book. You should go out and get it. The Best Interface is No Interface. And you should get it in book form. Because if you get it on a Kindle, then you're just reading it through an interface. So it kind of defeats the spirit of the whole thing, right? Anyway, so we got to talking before he went out and did his speech, and we were talking about his talk, and we were talking about interfaces. And he, of course, is focused on virtual interfaces, like interfaces on your phone, interfaces on your computer, interfaces on the TV, those kind of virtual interfaces, soft interfaces. And I said to him, well, why don't you think about a little bit further out? Why don't you think about signage? Think about physical interfaces. Think about physical interfaces. How are physical interfaces going to change when we get into a world full of augmented reality? Because it was a great talk as well by Keiichi Matsuda, talking about how we would be able to live in an augmented reality universe. And his visions are a little critical, full of advertising. He figures there was this fantastic video, and I think I'm going to link to it on my blog, a future blog post, showing how as you go through your world, basically just making a cup of tea, how you're going to be inundated by advertising and all these other things. And I don't think that's what the world is going to be like at all. I think, if you ask me, we will have augmented reality, but the amount of iconography and things floating in front of you is going to be kept to a bare minimum, because we're going to want to enjoy the world. And the interesting thing about it is that we're not only going to enjoy the world as it is, we're also going to replace the world as it is. In fact, some colleagues and I were working on a patent just like this about 8 years ago when we all worked at Yahoo, about how augmented reality is not just going to augment our reality, but it's also going to replace some of our reality, because you're going to be walking along the street and you're going to say, oh, this neighborhood is not that nice. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to erase some graffiti from the wall. So you just say, erase graffiti, and the system will replace the graffiti in your field of vision with something else. Or let's say you look up at the sky, and the sky is a little cloudy, and you go, oh, I don't like that. It's a little cloudy. I want to feel a little better. I want a sunny day. So you say, wow, I wish it were sunny. What happens? The clouds disappear. Gradually. The clouds disappear, and it's a beautiful sunny day. Is it actually a beautiful sunny day? No, you're the only one seeing the beautiful sunny day in your augmented vision. So I was trying to talk to Golden about this, and I said, imagine what it would be like in this world when you're walking down the street in downtown Palo Alto. There wouldn't be any signs saying don't park here, or park here, don't park here. There wouldn't be any parking meters. There wouldn't be any traffic lights, because as you drove up to a traffic light, the traffic light would disappear or appear if you needed to stop. This world of augmented reality is going to be so empty of the signs and clutter that we have in our lives. It's going to be a beautiful world. It'll be different for everyone. And then you'll be able to share your experience with someone else. Let's say you create a beautiful version of downtown Palo Alto without the signs, without the billboards, with parks, with more parks, with less buildings, with more vines crawling up walls or whatever. You create beautiful versions of cities. And then you can turn around and sell those beautiful versions of cities to other people who want to walk to those cities. And not only that, the beautiful thing about it is that you don't even have to walk through the city. You can say, here's my version of beautiful Palo Alto, circa 2025, and put a little description of it, a couple of screenshots. It'll be an app you can download in the App Store. And say, you want to have a virtual walkthrough of my beautiful version of Palo Alto? Here you go. Just buy this. $15.99, App Store. Anyways, I'm going to talk more like this over the next little while, because I've been inundated with all these fantastically beautiful futuristic ideas from this event. So you're going to be hearing more like this. So we'll do a little more focus on the future. We'll still do startups. We'll still do innovation. But we'll do a little more future, because I feel that it's been lacking. And personally, I think it's some of the most exciting stuff that's going to happen. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.